Listen, I know you're not going to believe me when I tell you that we're actually in the midst of a Bitcoin breakout. No jokes, we are in the midst of a Bitcoin breakout. Here's what it looks like, right? You see that long downtrend that we had since October 10th? That's that downtrend over here. The one that goes down, 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 down. Well, if you look over here, there's a little breakout. Listen, I wouldn't pay attention to the little breakout. Like, to me, a breakout, especially when the price has been moving sideways. How dare you tell me that we have broken out on Bitcoin? But that's the thing about a downtrend, right? If the trend is down and you go straight, or you continue straight level, then you're bucking the trend. And if you buck the trend for long enough, eventually you get a breakout. Now, I wouldn't generally pay attention to a ridiculous breakout like this. Generally, a ridiculous breakout like this is nothing to pay attention to. However, when the breakout is accompanied by a whole lot of fundamental and technical news or data, then you got to look at the breakout and say, okay, let's maybe pay attention to this most ridiculous breakout that I've ever seen. We've been at 64,800 since February, but more recently since the 3rd of June. And you're telling me we've broken out. We have though, we have. So let me show you the technicals and the fundamentals. The first thing that you need to know is that there is a head and shoulders pattern which is developing on Bitcoin. So that would be the first shoulder, that's the head and that's the shoulder. Now generally when you get a head and shoulders pattern, it could go back up here to 76,000, okay? Also, if you look at all the sideways movement on Bitcoin, this is a very long time to be moving sideways. And because we haven't moved, right? So we've been moving sideways, and because it's been like within such a small range of motion, the Bollinger Bands, which is the volatility bands, have now compressed. So generally, when the Bollinger Bands compress, as you can see, when the Bollinger Bands compress, we usually get a big move. Now, the big move can be up or the big move can be down. Here, the Bollinger Bands compressed, the move was down. If I look at what 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗄 is saying, I actually picked this up, on the weekend. Let's just quickly find 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗄's account. 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗄. He's a great chartist. I like him because you can't like move his, there we go, the factor report. So if you look at what he says, look, if he were to, this is Bitcoin. He says, look, he would be betting on the next move actually being down from about 67,000. But in the meantime, the Bollinger Bands are really tightening. And when the Bollinger Bands tighten, it means that there's going to be a move. And that happens all the time. That happens every time. So from a charting point of view, there is a move that's going to be soon. What caused this excuse for a breakout? It could be the fact that the Clarity Act has now been tabled to be voted on the 15th of September. Believe it or not. So after everything, they said, okay, on the 15th of September at 2:15 p.m. on Tuesday, it will be voted. And I mean, right now, the chances of the Clarity Act actually going past are under 20%, so 21%. Actually, in our Discord group, the guys have been playing the odds here, right? And they actually made money on the odds here. Kapoor actually made money there. The other thing is that if you look at the Coinbase premium, the Coinbase premium has been now negative for 90 days. Okay, so that means that buyers in the United States have been selling more than they've been buying for 90 days, right? And if you look at the data behind that, says if you look at the ETFs actually flipped bullish for the first time in a long time. So if you look at that chart over there, and you look at the net weekly inflows, that's the last week. What you can see is that we finally got a week of weekly inflows into the ETFs after many weeks of actually being net sales of the ETF. That's not the data point that excites me. The data point that excites me is one that's a little bit bigger than that. And that's this data point over here. What you can see here is that the net CME futures position by leveraged funds has gone green. What you'll notice about that data point is that data point is always red. And there are very, very, very few times where that data point goes green. When it does, look at that. That's one of the points when it does over here. And you can see there was a massive and sharp move up. Now, the word sharp is the important word here, right? Why? The leverage funds are always or generally short Bitcoin, right? The reason why they're short Bitcoin, it's quite a technical explanation, but it's because there is a yield on being short Bitcoin. And when that yield is above 5 or 6%, it's better for them to go short to collect the yield rather than having the money in the bank, right? So these guys have now flipped net bullish. Now, generally that means that either they are very bullish about something, I mean, it generally means that they're very, very, very bullish about something. That's basically what it means. And the last few times that that's happened, we have had a spike up, a very steep spike up. So that's like quite a rare move. I must say, I actually follow this chart a lot. And I mean, look here, look, it was one screen over here. It was one screen over here, which was a Pico bottom, right? And it was green here. We had a massive spike, and it's green again here. And it's quite really green here, which means that this for me is like a big data point that something may be happening, or there may be a turning of the tide when it comes to Bitcoin amongst TradFi. I mean, probably another point to look at is that the realized price is at 67,000, and generally we don't really go below the 67. We generally go above the 67,000. So generally we probably could go up to like 67,000 or so in the long term. Also, the gold breakout continues, right? So look at gold. Gold is still like really breaking out. And the good thing is that Bitcoin has now found its correlation back to gold, believe it or not. So the Bitcoin gold Pearson correlation, which is how correlated Bitcoin is to gold, is finally green back to digital gold, like when people used to refer to Bitcoin as digital gold. So we are now correlated to gold again. And that's exactly what 𝗕𝗓𝗕𝗓𝗏 said when we interviewed him on the other channel. He said, first gold and silver will run, and then Bitcoin will run. And right now we're getting the gold and silver run, which is quite cool. In the interim, our friend Saylor did exactly what I said he would do. He sold at the bottom. He sold Bitcoin at the bottom to do what? To buy STRC. So they increased their reserve. They sold Bitcoin to increase STRC. So he's basically showing the market, look, I'm willing to do stupid things to get STRC back to its $100 peg, right? I'm even willing to sell Bitcoin, only so that when it eventually gets to 100, I can sell STRC to buy back the Bitcoin. I know it makes zero sense, but it's Saylor trying to prove his point that he can get STRC back to 100. What did they do? They sold MSTR and added $650 million to their reserve. And then they also sold Bitcoin and purchased to repurchase STRC. I mean, he could have just sat on his hands and done nothing, and everything would have been fine. But instead, he's playing these shenanigans to try and get STRC back to 100, which eventually he'll get back, because I thought this would never get back to 100. I eat my words now, because I don't see any reason, if he carries on selling in the Bitcoin and carries on increasing the reserve, which is exactly what he's doing, he's increasing his reserve, and the more he increases the reserve, the more STRC holders know that they're going to get paid. If you want to get Saylor news and any other news first, I promise you, just follow 247 Newswire. It is the fastest newswire out there. You can see when the announcements actually came out. Some other news, I think, relates to the stock market. So if you look at the stock market's still like hovering around all-time highs. Sure, look at that. And interestingly, that comes on the back of two things. One is, it looks like the market's starting to price in less of a rate, so no rate cut at the next meeting, believe it or not. No rate hike at the next meeting. They're now pricing the next rate hike in October. Why? Because we got jobs data. The jobs data came in very strong. We had very strong jobs data. And there's the CPI reading later this week. The CPI reading is on the 12th. 12th is Wednesday. So on the 12th, we're getting a CPI reading. Right now, the forecast for CPI is 3.4%, which is slightly down. So slightly down. Yes, like. If you haven't already liked, what are you waiting for? Like. Like. Funny enough, when it comes to the stock market, you know, Warren Buffett's been out of the stock market for a long time, right? He's been sitting on a pile of cash. 400 billion. Well, he deployed 400 billion. Has begun deploying of the $400 billion. Can you believe it? He basically missed the entire run-up of the stock market. He's been sidelined for the entire run-up of the stock market. And now when the market gets heated, he's now back. Instead of continuing with stock sales, Buffett were a net buyer of equities in Q2, deploying 5% of their stockpile. I always thought that he was waiting for a big correction. He's clearly not waiting for a big correction. They invested 10 billion into Google in Q2. So they like literally went and bought Google in Q2. So they are beginning to be bullish again. I mean, how do you become bullish after you've missed this whole run? Buffett's been sidelined for this whole run. Like from here, he's been sidelined. And now he's back in the market. The reason why that happens is because of this. So this is a chart that most people don't really pay attention to. It overlays the S&P 500 of 1985 and 2005. History doesn't repeat, but often rhymes. Lots of folks are calling for an imminent stock market crash or massive recession. But actually, if you look at the chart shows that generally when markets run like this, markets actually continue to run, right? And that's probably what Buffett's now betting on. So, I mean, either he's getting FOMO from being sidelined for the whole bull market, or getting pressure to say, look, you've been sidelined for the whole bull market. He's sitting on a pile of cash. Therefore, I mean, let's just see what the Berkshire Hathaway stock's actually doing. Hold on, let's just have a look at Berkshire. They've got so many stocks. You've got to try and get the right one. So it's like, but is it BRK, Berkshire Hathaway? Is it this one? I think it's this one. It's the A or the B. I mean, either way, you can see that the performance of the, okay, now the Berkshire Hathaway stock, you see they deployed money. So now the market's basically saying, okay, we love you guys again. Let's go. So he's basically back in the market and deploying stocks, which is, I think, quite a bullish sign. Bull markets that cross 3 years tend to keep running a lot longer. So like basically, as Kyle always says, Kyle always says, the trend is your friend until the end of the trend, my friend. That's basically what he says. Let's look at altcoins. So we've got WorldCoin on a bit of a tear. Last week was the week for Pump.fun. I don't know if you guys watched my interview with the founder of Pump.fun. That's the interview over there. You should watch it. I mean, I know a lot of you don't like to watch project interviews, but you should watch it because you're actually quite smart what these guys are doing. I mean, that's when the interview dropped. I'm just saying that's when the interview dropped, and that's what happened to the price on the weekend. So if you want your project to go up, reach out to us. Maybe you can get an interview. No, we don't do that. We don't do stuff like that. So it's just because I like the guys at Pump.fun. I mean, they did flip Hyperliquid in terms of revenue. If you do some like back of the Matchbox accounting, the total fully diluted market cap of Pump.fun is $2.8 billion, right? They are buying about $500,000 a day. $500,000 a day is about $200 million a year. And their $200 million a year of tokens they're buying, and their total market cap is about $2.8 billion, which is, I mean, if you compare it to Hyperliquid, there's probably a 20x in Pump.fun if they get it right. The market just won't like give them the benefit of the doubt. That's the problem. Okay, then the other one that I see is running is CashCat. I mean, that one's actually absolutely flying. Where is it? I saw it on this page. Let's have a look here. Where's CashCat? I think it's CashCat. Let's have a look. CashCat. Cash. Cat. There we go. So it's up. It's $150 million market cap. By the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but so let's say that you're part of a community or you're a project and you want to get your product or your coin well known, or you want it to flash, because like there's 100 coins here, and then there's like page 2, there's 100 coins here, and then there's like page 3, there's 100 coins on page 3. Let's say that you want to bring, let's say that you're a part of the CashCat team, or you're part of the CashCat community, and you want your coin to go to the front page. What you can do is you can spotlight your bubble, right? So you can actually pay to get your bubble to go bigger and to go onto the front page for a period of 24 hours, right? Exclusively. You just go here, follow tell us what your bubble is. Say let's say Zcash or CashCat or whatever else. Click it. You'll get a web address. You can pay, and then you can basically get it to the front, and you can get a whole lot of attention to it. So that's on Banter Bubbles and Crypto Bubbles. I know you guys don't know this, but we actually own both of them. We own Banter Bubbles and we own Crypto Bubbles. So you can actually do it on Banter Bubbles. In fact, you can only do it on Banter Bubbles now, but from tomorrow you'll be able to do it on Crypto Bubbles as well. I don't know if you know that feature. I think it's a very cool feature. I mean, there is trouble on the horizon when it comes to Japan. Yeah, I mean, the Japanese yen, they tried to intervene. As you can see, that was when they tried to buy it back up, but I mean, the market just sent it back on its head. What else is there? Oh yeah, I do think we need to pay a bit of a tribute to our friend Harry. I don't know if you guys remember Harry. Harry was a good friend of mine. Harry was a larger than life figure. I don't know if you remember. He was part of the early Phantom investors. He was part of the life team. He was a regular on our show. I don't know if you remember him. He used to come on the show. Always full of life.
That into life. And essentially what we just started doing was adding a bit more liquidity. But what we really did is we just went back to basics for the protocol. We didn't expect this. We weren't even prepared for this move. But essentially,
how many of you remember Harry?
Launched on Polygon, Binance Smart Chain, Tomb Chain and Phantom all at the same time, and now you can
That's
farm
Harry.
in all the different.
So Harry was found murdered. So he was an early phantom backer. Apparently he was in Paraguay and he was thrown out of a building that's just 30 stories. The authorities actually found his body naked on the floor. When they went up to the apartment, they found the apartment completely ransacked, etc. So, I mean, they say, yeah, his body was found naked. Police say they linked the apartment was open and ransacked. Authorities have not ruled out an accident, suicide, or third. I mean, it can't be an accident. You don't ransack your apartment and jump out the window naked. No, you don't do that. I mean, he was a good friend of mine. I mean, crazy guy. Always, you know, he always had a big spirit for life. Yeah, it was quite a shock to hear that. You know, for those of you who've been on this journey with us, you guys remember Harry. You guys remember Harry. Harry used to come on the show. He used to DJ with us. You know, I went to his house a few times. Really, like, look, a misunderstood guy, a reckless guy, a fun guy. I mean, we once crashed a Ferrari together. I'll see if I've got a photo for you guys. We did. We crashed a Ferrari together. Let me show you. I'm not going to tell you what he was doing when he crashed the Ferrari, but suffice to say that Harry crashed his Ferrari. Let's see if I can find it for you guys. I went to visit him in Dubai, and let me see if I can find it for you guys. And yeah, he was reckless. You know, he was a fun, reckless guy. And yeah, I mean, I think the world's a lot poorer without him. Let's see if I can find him. Harry. Do you guys remember him? Tell me in the chat if you guys remember him. There we go. I don't know if you can see that. That's the Ferrari on the back of the truck. Yeah. Anyway, that's Harry. A little tribute to Harry, who was a regular on our show. Couple of things. Let's just quickly look at the stock market. The stock market just opened. Let's see what's going on in the stock market. I don't know if you know you got stock bubbles here. Intel dropped slightly because they're raising 15 billion, or they're diluting their share capital by 15 billion. Pretty much a mixed day, a mixed day on the markets. You know that if you want to trade stock markets, you can do that on Bybit like you trade your normal perps. So just like you trade your normal perps, Listen,
you can
I know you're not going to believe me when I tell you. Hold on. You can trade your normal, you can trade here on Bybit TradFi. If you use the link here, you can get $1,000 open position in one of the TradFi pairs. So, I mean, you can trade everything. Gold, SanDisk, SKHYNIX, all of those stuff. Anyway, my good friends, I shall see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.